Hotels across the country are being targeted for violating the Americans with Disabilities Act by failing to show online how they provide accommodations for all guests.
KRQE News 13 investigative reporter Gabrielle Burkhart found there are nearly a dozen New Mexico hotels being sued over it by a woman who admits she has never even been to New Mexico.
Does this raise any red flags for you?
Yes, in some ways it does.
Hotel St. Francis in Santa Fe, a high-end bed and breakfast in New Mexico's capital. Luxury hotels across New Mexico, all with a common thread.
There's always some eyebrow raising when you see a bunch of cases being filed by the same parties against a bunch of different defendants alleging almost the same thing.
At least 10 New Mexico hotel businesses are being sued in federal court, accused of violating the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. Court documents show Ashley Mackin claims she's wheelchair-bound and planned to travel to the Inn of the Turquoise Bear in Santa Fe this February. Mackin's complaint says she visited Booking.com, Expedia, Hotels.com, Priceline, and Orbitz, and says the third-party reservation websites, quote, did not provide sufficient information regarding accessibility at the hotel, adding each business needs to describe accessible features with enough detail online so guests with disabilities can know if a room meets their needs before booking.
These testers, they call themselves, who bring these lawsuits, are allowed to challenge, hotels' reservation systems.
Dina Buchanan is a civil attorney with decades of experience handling employment law and business disputes. She's not involved in these lawsuits, but offered us some legal analysis of what we found are nearly a dozen very similar cases filed in New Mexico federal court, all listing Mackin, a North Carolina resident, as a plaintiff, all filed by the same attorney, Tristan Gillespie, out of Georgia.
What raises the red flag for me is when there's a series of cases filed by, two out-of-state people, the attorney and the client, and there's really vague allegations about how the person really planned to use the hotel and if they really plan to stay there.
The lawsuits state Mackin suffered frustration and humiliation as the result of discriminatory conditions present at the defendant's website. Imesh Vaidya is the CEO of Premier Hospitality and runs hotels across New Mexico and Colorado.
Very familiar.
He's not the one being sued here, but he's all too familiar with lawsuits he says are targeting the hospitality industry.
Oh, no, these are totally frivolous lawsuits. These lawsuits are not helping the actual individuals that the ADA is aiming to help. This is only enriching a very, very unscrupulous attorney. And unfortunately, there's several of them throughout the country. It's become a very profitable business for them.
We found Gillespie filed lawsuits alleging ADA violations in New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, Alabama, New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Vermont, and his home state in Georgia. More than 200 lawsuits filed in courts across the country. Online reviews from a website that rates attorneys call him a, quote, scam lawyer and serial litigant, saying he's destroying small business, filing lawsuits against mom-and-pop hotels and requesting to settle for thousands of dollars. We called Gillespie to ask about these claims and the 10 lawsuits filed in New Mexico.
My name's Gabrielle Burkhart. I'm a reporter in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Gillespie referred us to his boss, Tom Bacon, an attorney based in New York, who says he's been involved in ADA compliance lawsuits for 16 years.
Basically, if it weren't for these ADA plaintiffs and their attorneys, it's my experience that no place would comply with the law.
Bacon says failing to comply with ADA laws is discrimination and refutes claims he and Gillespie file frivolous lawsuits.
There's nothing frivolous about them. In all of these cases that we filed involving online reservation services, the hotels simply failed to even indicate whether they have an accessible guest room.
Web accessibility is really important.
Travis Davis is the ADA Advisory Council chair for the city of Albuquerque.
I never look at it as a business is doing anything maliciously. I always look at it as a lack of education.
He pushes education over filing lawsuits.
I don't think that's how it should be.
Vadia says hotels want to accommodate everyone and should be given notice to fix the issue before a lawsuit is filed. New Mexico's hospitality industry suffered a massive economic blow during the pandemic, and these lawsuits, he claims, are a money grab.
This past week, we've had 3 hotels robbed at gunpoint. This is very similar to that. They're not using a gun, they're using a piece of paper, a document, to basically rob us.
Bacon points out the ADA law is 30 years old and claims his office isn't out for quick settlements, but rather widespread change.
But what would you like to see based on these lawsuits?
The end goal is that people in wheelchairs can go out just like everybody else. You know, we are all aware that we are one traffic accident away from that being us.
Gabrielle Burkhart, KRQE investigates.
A federal judge in New York dismissed 17 online reservation lawsuits involving the same attorney and ADA violations, saying the plaintiff in those cases had no actual plans to stay in the hotels that were being sued. A New Mexico judge has yet to make a ruling here.